Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, I asked a Brexiter, why was Gareth Southgate speeding? To get 3 points. The Brexiter looked at me with squinty eyes and said, I do not get it. Brexiters, Brexiters, Brexiters. You are in the United Kingdom, where 95% of your politicians cannot stand the people in this country. They think you're a bunch of lazy, good for nothing idiots. All of a sudden, Israel have now come out and they have found apparently 12 workers of UNRWA, which is a part of the UN, that's based obviously in Palestine, somewhere in Palestine or Gaza. This is where they're based. And UNRWA have been there from since I think they were set up in like 47 or 48. Because it's maybe 6 months to a year younger than Israel. So that's how and Israel, right, for all these years, since the 1940s, Israel has been trying to disband this group from whether it's the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. They've been trying to get this group defunded for the longest of time. And now they've come up with 12 of the UNRWA workers who have apparently had something to do with the 7th of October. Very strange, yeah, that all of a sudden they come up with this information, yeah, just after the International Court has just said, that South Africa has got a plausible case. Plausible. That doesn't mean that. It's plausible. That doesn't mean that the court's going to come up with and say that Israel are committed to genocide. They just said it's plausible. At which stage you'd think that Britain and America and all the other countries who supply weapons to Israel would say, well, hold on, actually, we can't be supplying you with any more weapons because, there's a plausible case of genocide against you in the international court. Plausible, it's there. That's what they've said. Those are the words they used. Plausible. Because they've looked at the numbers and they've said, yeah, listen, it's too much. That's what it looks like to me. That's what the court is saying. So so now, yeah, so these 12 workers for UNRWA, yeah, have been immediately dismissed. I think one of them's dead or something like that as well. But anyway, they've all been dismissed because you're talking about 13,000 people. These people have got working for them, right? So 12 people, and I mean, if these guys may well be Palestinians, or they may well be members of Hamas who have infiltrated that organization, but they might not be using the organization to carry out any of these. Obviously, they wouldn't use the organization to carry out any of these things because, I'm quite sure that we're going to say, well, it's none of the people who are really high up within UNRWA, like directors or something like that. Doubt it's going to be anybody like that. So we're going to be talking about lower operatives who may well have just shown support for because apparently this information was tortured out of them. So they may well have just found support. But what does Britain do? Immediately withdraws its funding. Britain and America withdraw its funding immediately, and it just so happens that this has managed to get the true story off the front pages, which is that Israel are committing an apartheid and genocide. So that's what the true story is. But they're just like, oh no, but look at these 12 people. These 12 people, these are terrible. So, you could look and think, well, hold on a minute. How comes we haven't defunded the police over here? What did Wayne Couzens do? Wayne Couzens, a police officer, right, raped and murdered a woman. Okay, we've got plenty of police officers in this country who have raped and have been charged and convicted of a lot of different offences. I mean, you look at the numbers, what they was talking about, when they're talking about, how much police have got that outstanding stuff at the moment, So why is it that we're not defunding them? Because if we say, well, hold on, these 12 people from UNRWA, right, we can punish the whole organisation plus 2.5 million Palestinian people. We can punish all those people. So in that case, right, why have our government not said, well, we're taking all the funding away from the police? You can't get funded because, so too many of your members are rapists and murderers. So you can't, so we're not going to fund you no longer. Right? So, it works completely the other way around. When a court says there's a plausible case for genocide, and Britain and America, the first thing they do, right, along with Israel, is come up with some cock and bull story about one of the aid agencies, absolute bollocks they've come up with, and then they immediately can withdraw the funding. They can watch 20,000 women and children slaughtered. They can watch them slaughtered, and it's like, oh no, Israel have the right to defend themselves. 12 people who UNRWA has immediately got rid of. And they're like, oh no, we're withdrawing funding because those people are bang out of order. They just step right over the corpses of the 30 odd thousand, Palestinians that have already been murdered. But Israel's, the ruling that, when I've read more about the ruling now, that ruling is a really, it's a very, very good ruling for should be for the Palestinians, really. It should be a very, very good ruling for them because, as I said, it's plausible already. So if Israel continue more actions, flattening, the rest of, I mean, they've already flattened probably, I think, like 60 or 70% of the buildings anyway. So if they go and do, like, another 10 or 20%, then, that's definitely going to be that. And then, they bomb people in, like, refugee centres. They've blown up every hospital. I mean, how can you justify blowing up every single hospital in Gaza, even the children's hospital, and then claim, oh, well, there's weapons underneath there. There's all these tunnels. So if that's the case, right, you're telling us there's tunnels underneath there, just go under, right, and fill the tunnels out with concrete. Clear them out. If there's tunnels underneath there, clear them out, and then just fill them with concrete. Leave the people in a functional hospital, whether it's a mosque, a school, homes, everything. They've just flattened absolutely everything. So in my mind, they've already committed genocide. If I was in that international court, I'd have said, listen, you already committed genocide. Right? All we need to do is get Netanyahu into The Hague. That's what, that's where Netanyahu needs to be, along with all of his generals, because these people are absolutely genocidal freak maniacs. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. And we're going to go straight over to America because Donald Trump, obviously. Donald Trump wants to block the border bill. I think they've just agreed a new border bill, which I think is quite stringent. Obviously, that the way how I feel about America's borders. I think that anybody should be able to cross over their borders because you stole the country. You went over and you committed genocide on the natives and you stole their country. So it's not your borders anyway. The borders don't belong to you. Only these people from the West, right, can go breach borders all over the world and then say, well, we want our borders secure. But, they don't respect anybody's borders. Whose borders do the Brits respect or America respect? Whose borders do they respect? They don't respect anybody's borders. Right? But something, their borders are like, what we want to repel. We need some type of spray, a repellent, so we can repel these people from our borders, right? Get rid of them. We don't want them, right? But when it comes to them, oh no, we have every right to go and control any border that we want to. These people are really something else. But anyway, yeah. So Donald Trump wants to block the bill, and he's telling all of his minions, and I'm talking about senators and congressmen and women, and these people. I saw an interview with Tim Scott, and they asked Tim Scott about the E. Jean Carroll verdict, and Tim Scott just gave a load of waffle and then started mentioning Hunter Biden. So the man raped the woman, and you're speaking about this made-up fiction about Hunter Biden. Really, the Republicans have got nothing. These people have no right being in government because they're not doing anything for the people. They've got no policies for the people. All they're doing is just playing. They're playing games with people's lives, and I don't understand how anybody could look at that politics and think, yeah, that's for me. That politics for me. A man who wants to be the leader, and he would like there to be a financial crash. He wants the borders to be in a complete mess so that he can point at Joe Biden and say, well, Biden's got it in a complete mess, even though they've agreed a deal in the Senate. And the leader of the House, right, this four-eyed, goggle-eyed idiot, will turn around and say it's dead on arrival. Before it even gets there, it's dead on arrival because Donald Trump told him to say that. Just, my God, I'll tell you something, yeah. Our politicians over here, right, are terrible. They're disgusting. They're filth. They're a bunch of losers, a bunch of absolute thieving, lying, cheating idiots. Our politicians over here. But when you talk about in America, when you talk about like the Republicans, right, you could just put some steroids on that shit. Right, and you could just put a big, tumbler of whiskey, 15 ecstasy pills, cocaine, and a big bag of weed. That would explain the Americans' politicians, because these guys are just, people like Glenn Stefani. I don't understand these people, right? I saw an interview with her, and just the absolute garbage that she's coming out with and talking about the Biden, when she's asked about the E. Jean Carroll thing, she's bringing up the Biden crime family and said, well, you're just making stuff up, and all because it's an election. Oh, well, obviously they were doing it from long before, but they're pumping it proper, like jacking up now because it's an election season. But my God, these people, there's something. I just look at them and think there's something wrong with these people. Donald Trump is still attacking E. Jean Carroll. Now, he's done it so far. He hasn't actually done the post himself. He's retweeted the posts, and and obviously he's probably liked some of the posts what people have said about E. Jean Carroll. Now, you see, I'd like to see what's going to happen about this, because I can remember when Jeremy Corbyn liked the a mural that said looked like that it was some bankers, city bankers, playing, I think, something like Monopoly or something like that, right, on the backs of some slaves that was laying on the floor. So they had the board on their backs. I think there's 4 slaves laying on the floor, they had a board on their back, right? And because these I think there was this. They had big noses, so people saying, "Well, those people are clearly Jewish." I say, what? So, in every single race, you have people who have got huge noses. I mean, you see some white people, with a massive hooter. You see some Asian people with the biggest conch you've ever seen. You see some black people who say, "Oh my God, you can see Blackwall Tunnel right there." Both tunnels. But I don't know what's going to happen with these reposts, because, he shouldn't be, his fingers should be nowhere near E. Jean Carroll's name. He just got hit with $83 million. That's around £65 million. 83 million. He just got hit with, and this man is reposting stuff about E. Jean Carroll, which I just think to myself, well, that's not right. You're going to get yourself in a lot of problems again, because she could come after you again. I mean, the first judgment was like 5 million. And I think that's just because he had a good lawyer within, like Joe Tacopina. But this second judgment of 83, and that's not for the rape, right? That's for him running off his stupid ass mouth about her. That's what that's for. 83 million, right? So she got 5 million for the first rape and the defaming. She got 5 million for that. But this one, because he went straight outside the courtroom and started running off his stupid mouth, and then and kept on having the woman's name in his mouth, right? Isn't this the time, that you want Will Smith to just appear and it's boxed, right? Keep the man's wife's name out your mouth. The US will be storing nuclear weapons at RAF Lakenheath, which is going to have a lot of demonstrations going on because of that. Because obviously, I think they're going to be facing the weapons at the Russians, because we're expecting the Russians to start invading NATO countries, very, very shortly. But I mean, I'm sure this was I was very young at the time. But Green and Common. I think that's what that was all about, wasn't it? I think that's what that was all about. About US nuclear weapons on British soil. And the last time I think there was here was, I think it must be 2006, 2004, 2005, something like that. The last time they was here. What will Biden do after 3 American troops have been murdered overnight by a drone attack? And I think it's injured, I think, another 30 or so in a drone attack, which their defences somehow managed to miss this drone. But it's come over and it has. So we're going to see, because obviously this is in Jordan, where the Americans have got one of their bases. But you have to wonder why Americans have got their bases all over in some very provocative places. They like, what the Americans like to do. They like to surround people. Like, I'm quite sure they've probably got Iran, who they're blaming for this. Immediately they'll come out and say, well, this is these Iran-backed rebels. So they're blaming the Iranians, and there's a lot of talk in America that they want, they want to go and strike somewhere in Iran, whether it's one of their ships, or whether it's their oil fields, or whether it's their air force or something like that. That's what this is. What I've heard this morning. I've heard some very sensible hosts in America saying this, which wasn't very pleased with at all, because I don't really think. Remember, 9/11 was carried out by Saudis, and then what did they do? Did they go and invade Saudi Arabia? No, they went and invaded Afghanistan. Well, when these people come from Saudi Arabia? No, because Saudi Arabia is good. So, Saudis can do most things. Saudis can do a lot of things around the world, and just be like, no. Well, that person's an individual. Right? And in fact, what we're going to go and do, we're going to go and bomb somewhere else. A different country apart from a different country. We're not going to bomb Saudi, of course not. Because they give us far too much oil. Over 40 councils in the UK are close to bankruptcy. And all that is because the politicians in this country are a useless bunch of pillocks who don't like the people. And you see, you just look at the state of the potholes in this country. And the councils, they can't afford to fill all the potholes. Can't afford to do it. We've got Hammersmith Bridge. How long has Hammersmith Bridge been out? A long time. Been out one hell of a long time. Hammersmith Bridge, right? It must be an absolute nightmare around there, right? There could be, I guarantee you, right, that you've got people who would normally have a 5-minute journey across the bridge, right? And now it's like an hour and 10 minutes to go round. Say like you're on one side, but you need to go, and there's a shop just on the other side that you need to go to, or it's your shop just on the other side you need to go to. for the last, 4 or 5 years, right, you've had to go all the way around to get there. And then in the night when you're going back home, all the way back. Madness. And then, you see, the main problem, I'll tell you what the main problem the councils are having is the fact that they are paying out for temporary housing for people. And that is costing absolute billions of pounds a year, the temporary housing. Well, because you're looking at 5 or 6 billion a year. Yeah, 5 or 6 billion a year. Probably might even be a bit more than that. That's the type of figures that they're paying out. And this is all being paid out by the councils. And all those people, so much of those people there, they can't actually work, because if they do, right, they'll lose their temporary housing, because they won't be able to afford it themselves. Because one thing's for certain, people who rent temporary housing to the council, a lot of these people are very smart. And what they do is they make sure that the council pay them through the nose. And because, it's not, because it's not the council's money, really. I mean, it's just the taxpayers' money. So because of that, the councils will be like, oh, yes, a 2-bed house. Okay, we'll give you £1,750 a month. Even more, 2,400, 3,002. Right, because they've got to house these people temporary. So they're just keeping these people in limbo for so many years. And you tell me how we got into a situation that it seems to be better to pay over £5 billion a year to temporary house people, right, when they could have said, you know what, right, we're going to put up a load of prefabs. Right, we're going to put up a load of housing that is truly affordable. We're going to put up a load of social housing. But oh no, because too many of them are landlords and they vote against your interest because they don't like you. A review into Valdo Calacane, that's the Nottingham killer. They want to have a review into the actions and see which agency was truly to blame for what happened there. I have a feeling, right, that the family is looking for things to be changed, as in the sentence, because obviously the family, they want him to be in prison, but he doesn't. If he truly has got schizophrenia, then prison is not the place for him, if he truly has that. And considering that in the last 3 years he has been sectioned 4 times, right, I would say there's a clear case that this man probably is really, really schizo. And he from what I've heard, his schizophrenia is not drug resistant. He just refuses to take them. So, prison, it wouldn't be the place for him, because in prison he wouldn't get the care. The screws, they're not really interested whether you take your meds or not. They're not nurses. They're not doctors, they're not nurses, so they're not interested in that. They're screws, they're prison officers. Right? Prison officers are hands-on. So that's how they'll deal with the situation. When he has one of his crazy outbreaks, right, the prison officers will be hands-on, right, and then they'll throw him into like a cold cell, concrete cell, naked. That's how they will deal with it, until the prison nurse has a chance to get in and see him, to get him back on his meds. But that's how the prison will deal with it. So the prisons wouldn't be a place for him. But you see, I have this feeling, right, that because you know what doctors like. Doctors like to fix people, right? Especially like your psychiatrists and psychologists. All these people, they like to fix people. Right, with their therapies, right? And you have to say, yes, he killed 3 people, but he's fixed now. He can come out. Everything's good. No. Right? And I suppose there could be a case, right, to say, well, actually, if you feel that there's a time that he can be freed, right, that should be the time when we say, oh no, we're going to impose the life tariff that you've been given. Even though he wasn't sentenced to prison, he was sentenced to. So I think they'd probably have to take him back to court to do that. If the hospital, and I can see between 10 to 20 years that a doctor said, yo, no, I fixed this man. I've got in there and he's fixed. Right? All he has to do is take these little pills every day and he's fixed. So I can see that. But a review into that, I'm probably going to be a complete waste of time. 2 teenagers were murdered in Bristol by a group of men, and a 44-year-old and a 15-year-old are being questioned. And I would say, well, them two's got to be family, right? Because there's no way that, well, I mean, why would a 44-year-old be hanging out with a 15-year-old? I mean, if if a 44-year-old turned up to your house to pick up your one of your children, right? Unless there was like maybe a piano teacher, a football coach, cricket or rugby or tennis or one of those things, right? Some type of after school activity. But a 44-year-old just coming to hang out with your child, no, no. But so yeah, so this seems like it's been quite horrific. I think there's probably like some kids fight, and then the parents have, one set of parents have probably taken it and gone over and taken things a lot further than they should have taken them. The Rwanda bill faces scrutiny in the House of Lords again today. So the Rwanda bill is back. 4 Rwandans have been given asylum in the UK. What? Yes, 4 Rwandans have been given asylum in the UK because they fear persecution in Rwanda. I was just wondering whether or not any of the Lords are going to bring this up today, because I'm sure they will. One of them is going to draw that out their back pocket. Stupid, this country. A Japanese macaque monkey has escaped from a zoo. And if you see the video of this thing, right, I saw a video of it, and it was in someone's garden, and it was eating nuts from the bird feeder. And these people were filming it, and if you heard them, because I was speaking about it, they were filming it, I can't believe this is unreal. I was thinking to myself, yeah, just load that onto YouTube, right? And you're going to get millions and millions of views, because they're going to do really, really well off that video. Because it's just, when you see it in the person's guy, I think it's in Scotland. Disposable vapes to be banned, apparently, because 15% of 11 to 15-year-olds are vaping. And say, well, do you prefer them to be smoking? Because if they're not vaping, they'll probably be smoking. There's always been children smoking. That's something that's always happened. But I don't know why they're picking. Again, with a lot of the new technology, they're just like, they look at it and go, oh no, we want that banned. We need to ban that. Whether it's like the new vape, whether it's the new disposable vapes, or whether it's like the new those new scooter things. What else they want to ban? I'm sure there was something else they want to ban as well. But anything, all these things that are coming out that are new, right? They're like, oh no, we want to ban that. And I think, those scooters, dangerous they may be, because, obviously people, some people ride them on the pavement. But, to be honest, if I was riding a bicycle or a scooter, especially if I'm riding in the night, right, there's no way I'd ride in the road, especially in London. I mean, you take your life into your own hands, right? Your heart would be in your mouth every couple of minutes, riding a bike or riding or electric scooter around the streets of London. That is highly dangerous, right? Jackasses open their car door, right, on you, right? Trust me on this, right? People turn, right? They don't see you. Turn. That's what I mean, right? The last time I rode a bike, right, on the streets of London, I would have been 15. Right? And that's because that was my only mode of transport. But let's speak about some Brexit, because I've already gone over in this video. I'm 28 minutes in already, and I wasn't supposed to, so I wasn't supposed to go that far in, I'm sure. But specialist meats such as Parma ham, and Spanish chorizo sausages could begin to disappear from the shelves of the UK supermarkets because of the new Brexit rules. And those new Brexit rules, right, are going to really destroy the country. Food sector chiefs has told The Independent. And these are all the new Brexit checks, right? And I spoke about this, I'm sure, in my last 2 videos. And I don't think people realise how serious this is. Because this is like, this is us imposing the same rules as they impose on us. which obviously for them, I can guarantee you, right, that our exporters are burdening all the cost to export to those guys, right, for the same money as they was paying before. Because otherwise they're not going to get the business, because I'll be like, well, if I'm spending £2 million with you a year, and now there's some new rules coming, which means that your product is going to cost more money for me, I'll be like, well, no, I'm not, you can't put that on me. I'm spending too much money with you. And I know, right, that if you pull your business, or I pull my business from you, I know you're going to go under, because that £2 million is one of your biggest customers. Everybody else is like, everybody else is like 50, 60, 70,000. Right? But that 2 million, right, is your biggest customer. So I know what that's going to do to your business if we have to part ways. So either you supply me at the same price, or I take my £2 million and I go elsewhere. And I guarantee you that's what's happened to a lot of... That's why a lot of them have gone under, because they couldn't afford to do it. So that's why a lot of them have gone under. But when you're talking about like big figures, like, 10, 20, 30 million, then those EU companies will just be like, no, well, I can get your product. I can get this product elsewhere. I can get this product in Europe. Or I can get it in Ireland. So so a lot of companies would have said, you know what, they'll have gone and set up in Ireland so that they can still have that foothold into the EU. I think they could even do that in Northern Ireland, isn't it? Because in Northern Ireland, as Rishi Sunak said, they have the best of both worlds, because they have they have the EU, and they have the UK market as well. So Rishi Sunak described that as the best of both worlds. And said, well, why don't you want it for England? Because we're stupid? Yeah, exactly. New Brexit border controls will leave British consumers and businesses facing more than £500 million increased costs and delays, as well as shortages of fresh fruit, of fresh flowers, food imported from the European Union. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So that is just virtually going to just cover everything, whether it's like your hams, your cheeses, all your meat products, flowers, food, just so much things. Because this is next week we're talking about. Well, later this week, these new rules are going to be implemented. So this is just going to absolutely, as I said, it's £500 million is going to be added onto your shopping bill. And it's going to all hit you personally. Anyway, my friends, look, I'm 32 minutes and this is just... I should tell myself off. Or I should get someone else, maybe you, to tell me off. But this is just ridiculous. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to bow out of here. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm Dempsey John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.